Okay, so I've been training Krav Maga now for the past 30 days, and the number one thing that I have learned from hours and hours of training is mark this moment right here. This is day 30. What am I talking about? What even is Krav Maga? Okay, let me explain. So Krav Maga is a military self-defense and fighting system developed for the Israeli forces. Krav Maga takes various techniques from different martial arts and teaches real-world self-defense. The challenge is simply to see how much we can progress in only 30 days. Training 4 to 6 times a week. And then test my Krav Maga ability compared to how I was on day 1. And just for reference, day 1, I know quite literally nothing about Krav Maga. So here we are, the Krav Maga Self-Defense Institute in Sydney. And when I say we, I'm here with my good friend Tristan, who's gonna be my training partner throughout the 30 days.
You're actually gonna go out in the street and just give it a go.
Just fight people.
Yeah, we can just show you live how it looks.
On that note, let the training begin. Last one done. Just make sure we're all powdered. It's good physical exercise. I think with any new sport, it's like a very specific type of fitness. So I'm looking forward to getting a little bit more fit. What do you think?
Yeah, it was good. Definitely eye-opening.
Okay, so day 1 was a lot. Basically got thrown in the deep end, learned about weapons defense. It was pretty interesting stuff, but I didn't have too long to dwell on it before I was back in there for day 2. So this is basically the way the program works. It's go through, week 1 is combatives, which is like striking and stuff. Week 2 is holds, so it's like someone grabs your neck or goes to choke you. Week 3 is all about weapons. Someone have a knife or someone has a gun. And then week 4 is about groundwork, so grappling work. It's sort of like similar to jiu-jitsu in a way, but it's like more street based, how to get yourself out if you're pushed onto the ground. So I think that's really cool. And they basically repeat that for like a 16-week curriculum. So you learn a whole different range of skills. We've had 2 training sessions. I'm already getting bruises on my arms from all these knife attack defenses that we've been training. So I can well imagine this is gonna be an intense 30 days. A lot can happen in 30 days, but here are just some of the highlights. So week 1, we learned lots of things. We learned basically how to defend ourselves from a set sequence of different attacks. So I originally was like comparing Krav Maga to other martial arts that I've done, but I've realized that Krav Maga isn't a martial art. It's not a sport, because there cannot be rules in a pure self-defense fighting system. Because in real life situation, which is what Krav Maga tries to replicate, there are no rules. So I've got to stop trying to compare Krav Maga to Muay Thai Jiu-Jitsu training that I've done, and it's on a completely different level. Week 2 and week 3 were all about chokes, holds, and groundwork. What to do if someone grabs you, if someone puts you in a choke, if someone grabs your shirt. That stuff I think is even more realistic, because I can imagine happening more often than someone coming at you with a knife. If there's one thing I've learned, no matter how skilled you are, these trainers in here who've been training Krav Maga for years have told me over and over again how important it is to step back and get away from a fight if possible. Okay, so week 4, we focused on striking and defense. So punches, kicks. And the main punch, when someone comes at you with this big swinging overhand punch. I guess the instructors see that as being one of the more common attacks that you would face in a street scenario. No matter how much training you do, a real life situation is always going to be different. At least that's what I think. So in that way, I feel like the best thing you can do is simple hours and hours and hours in the gym. Build these instinctive reactions if you ever get in a fight, which obviously I hope never happens to me. So that's the thing, is you can never really train for a really realistic scenario, but I think Krav Maga gets a lot closer to that than other martial arts. And certainly if you've trained from it for years, you would build up these instinctive responses to be able to defend yourself a lot quicker than without it. Alright, so I'm here with one of the senior instructors, Chris. And I wanted to ask him one or two takeaways that you've learned from your years of training here.
Probably the key thing that I've actually learned has been how verbal communication can really help change the situation, the dynamics of it, whether, you know, turning a very aggressive situation into something a little more friendly, or recognizing when something is becoming a little more heightened and aggressive.
So after 30 days of training and all of the instructors saying very much the same thing, one of the main lessons I've learned is to avoid a fight at pretty much all costs. Once you sort of start to learn what the body is capable of doing, I started to realize that getting into a fight was probably the last thing that I would want to do. I've learned that if you can de-escalate the situation, that's almost always the better decision. But the second lesson that I learned was, if you do find yourself stuck, there are gonna be literally no rules. So you'll have to think outside the box. Who knows how many guys are gonna be around the corner. So you'll have to use whatever means necessary to defend yourself.
It's, I think, pretty interesting.
What were you saying? Say again. Pretend you never said that.
I think a lot of the work we do in class is about being able to like sustain a defense.
Yeah.
Most of the emergency services that you call, it takes about 10 minutes or so on average for a call to come to you.
Really?
So we
Wow.
kind of work with like having 10 minutes of fighting in the tank.
Yeah, wow.
And just to like, I guess, make you try and survive. It's not even a guarantee, but you kind of have to do it.
It's better than nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's also quite dynamic. Like a lot of martial arts are quite rigid in that this is what you have to do to progress. We kind of aren't so focused on that. It's about being able to like adapt from what you're doing and change it when the scenario or the danger also changes.
Yeah.
It's a little bit
And
more
just be really
applicable, I
adaptive
think.
to like
Yeah.
what's happening.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's cool, huh? Okay, so now on to the third and number one lesson that I've learned. If you're stuck in the attack, react as quick as you possibly can and try and close the distance. That's the number one thing that I've learned, closing the distance as quick as possible. Because once you close that distance, you reduce the power of the punch. Let's see how much progress I've made. Let the day 30 testing begin. Alright, so here we are for the final day of this 30-day challenge.
All right, so we've got Laurie in the middle. We're going to attack him. All right, obviously not all at the same time. Dean would potentially move forward and rush you. You would defend yourself with strikes. Next person will jump in. I will let you know when it is that you will stop. Don't punch anyone in the face.
Okay.
All right, are you ready?
I don't know if I'm ever going to be ready for this. And just like that, I was surrounded by potential enemies. And I had to use all of the skills that I had learnt to try and defend myself.
Awesome work, man. You should get a strike. Awesome work. That was a solid 3 minutes away, man. Thanks, man. Feeling alright?
Yeah, tired towards the end, huh?
Yeah, no, fair enough. Good job pushing him.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome work, man.
Way to go, man.
Thank you.
Back into class, let's go. Come on.
Oh, that was exhausting. How do you think it went, Tris?
I think it went good. Oh, yeah, no, went good. You did well.
Yeah, it's definitely been some things I've picked up, I feel like, over the past 30 days that I would have had no idea about on day one. But I wonder how much better my actual technique has got. I mean, who knows? You guys tell me what you think. Can you see a difference between day 1 and day 30? I just want to say, you might be thinking that this isn't what a real street fight would look like. And I know, I completely agree. I'm well aware that a real life situation would likely be vastly different. Just remember, this was purely a test to see how much I'd learnt in terms of Krav Maga training. And 30 days is really nothing on the scheme of things. So I'm still a complete beginner. But nonetheless, perhaps I'm slightly less of a beginner than I was when I started. So therefore, would I recommend it? The answer is Yes, I would if it's something you're interested in. If you really want to learn about self-defense rather than sort of just go into like a martial arts sport, then I would definitely recommend Krav Maga. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. This time, it won't be 5 months, I can assure you. I'm back in with the challenges, so I will see you very soon.